What's up, everybody? This is Connor and Joshua with Chamber One Tactical. Today is probably one of the most exciting videos we could do for you guys. We've got every single budget AR-15, and by what we mean by that's 500 and lower, AR-15 that we currently own that we're going to review for you guys and just tell you which one we would go with at this point after putting, you know, hundreds and hundreds of rounds through all these guns. So I'm just going to run through them real quick, and we're going to discuss what the value of each one is. And then we'll get into, you know, what we think about them. So the first one we've got right here on my right is the Diamondback DB15. So this gun came in right at 500. We've got the Radical RF15. This gun came in again right at 500. We've got a Palmetto State Upper. We're going to go ahead and give you the specifics on the total firearm, so you can get the total gun for about 450 to 500. And if you find it on a blim deal, you can get it even cheaper.
Yes.
Then we have a Bear Creek Arsenal. This is not a full gun. This is a Bear Creek on an Anderson lower. So if you get the full, you know, Bear Creek Arsenal gun, it still is going to be around 350. You can actually get those pretty cheap. But this one we've got what, about 450 in it?
About, yeah.
Without all the accessories. We're just talking about, you know, getting a gun.
Yeah.
And then you have the Anderson AM15, and that one is coming in at about
right at 500.
So really close on all the values other than the Bear Creek, because you can get that one a good bit cheaper. And that may play in a little bit to the actual quality and performance of the gun is what we found. So I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to put them in order based off what I think, you know, how much I would recommend it. So I'm going to run through real quick. If you, at this point, there's a video on every single one of these guns. So if while we're talking about them, you want to figure out why we put them in a certain place, just go check out, you know, our page, and there will be a video on every single one of these ARs that you can go and see all the specifics on, because I may not remember exactly what happened with each one. So just I'm going to go from, you know, worst to best. So I'm going to have you move them around from what I think. So in my opinion, the least performing, probably the lowest end that I could think of is going to be the Bear Creek. So I'm going to put it at the very end. Couple reasons for that is just the actual look of the gun. It's very minimalistic as far as what they do to the actual, you know, fore ends, and you know, it's not the highest end looking gun. It is very basic in my opinion. We have had some issues with one of them. You know, if you guys haven't seen the Bear Creek already, we've got, you know, 10 of them.
Literally,
because they're cheap.
Yes.
And I actually did have an issue with one of mine, which was a 300 Blackout, where the rail came loose and it actually was having malfunction. So we wanted to keep it fair and do all 5.56. So we did do Joshua's, and his has not had an issue up until this point still. I mean, we've put probably the most rounds out of his, and we still don't have an issue. However, just with the track record of having malfunctions with some of them that we do have, I got to put it at the end, because I don't really know, at some point that one could have a malfunction, could have an issue based off what we've already found. So next, I'm going to actually say the Palmetto State Armory. And I kind of hate to do that, because I like Palmetto State Armory as a company, but we've had pretty consistent, we had some malfunctions with this one, and we've tried it on multiple different lowers. And, you know, as what you guys told us to do, we've tested different things, and we're still, without changing the actual buffer weight, we'll change it from different lowers, we're still having issues with this one being overgassed. You know, the malfunctions have pretty much ceased, but we're still having overgassed, you know, where those rounds are going out the front pretty much. And we've had the biggest malfunctions with this gun, with this upper, where we actually had some rounds turning completely around in the chamber. And locking it up.
It's impressive, though.
I mean, so I'm going to put that one at second to last. It's a much nicer, in my opinion, looking gun. The fore end is much nicer. You know, the actual feel of the gun, the quality feels better than Bear Creek, so I'm going to give it a step up, but we still had issues with that one. And then next, I'm actually going to say the Anderson. And the only reason I say that I had a really tough time between the Anderson and the Diamondback, because the Diamondback, we actually had two of them. And both the ones we have, if I'm correct, we actually didn't have any malfunctions with this. Correct?
We did not.
Okay, so that's the only reason that I'm giving the Diamondback, I'm putting it ahead of the Anderson, because in the first couple hundred rounds that we put through this gun, we did have, was it one malfunction?
Yes.
I think it just didn't all the way go into battery. So that's the only
Or I
reason.
think it was it hit, it might have been like
light
a
strike?
light primer strike.
Okay, so I love this gun. I love the look of this gun. It is a very interesting looking forend. It's lightweight. Obviously, we've painted this one, but I like the gun.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. With it having a malfunction, I can't put it ahead of one that didn't. So, like I said, the Diamondback. Something that I really like about the Diamondbacks is the weight on these things. The rail is super, super light. This gun, it's been reliable, but again, we're having those overgassed issues. So this one we actually found to not really be overgassed, but it had a malfunction right off the bat. This one's a little over. That's why I had such a hard time with these two, is because this one continues to be overgassed and hasn't had a malfunction. This one is now, in my opinion, running good, but we had that first malfunction. So I'm gonna have to give it to the Diamondback. I think Diamondback is doing great things also with their guns, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do in the future. And then right at the top, which I'm very surprised that this is the way this turned out, the Radical RF-15 is what I'm putting at the top. So this gun, again, $500. The rail on it, I love the shape of it. It is a little sharp in some places, in my opinion. But I like that. I did not need a forend grip on this thing at all. The way you can get a hold of that thing and it just locks onto your hand is great. I love the furniture they put on it. They put the B5 systems. I really like this stock that they put on here. I love the grip. And this gun had 0 malfunctions and was the best, in my opinion, as far as feeling like a somewhat tuned gun.
Yes.
Smooth action. The recoil was very light. The gassing, in my opinion, was pretty much spot on. It was really, really good. So I was very impressed with the Radical. And in my opinion, if I'm gonna recommend one over the other out of these, I would point you in the direction of the Radical. And I actually talked to one of our local gun shops. He said in the past, was it 1 or 2 years, they have sold 1,400 of the Radical RF-15 guns, and they've only had 2 come back with issues, and one of them was just a finish thing where the charging handle wasn't anodized or whatever. So I think they've got a good track record. You guys can let us know if you've had any issues with one that you've had, but I would say at this point, based off of our findings, that I would point you in the direction of the Radical RF-15. What would you say?
Out of your list,
don't go changing my list now.
I do have to change one thing.
All right, that's fine.
But it is so close, and I kind of agree. It's on the 2 that you were kind of going back.
It's
and forth
hard, isn't
with.
it?
So if it was me, I'd swap these 2.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that this one was actually better gassed.
It was, yeah.
From the factory. Just the overall shooting experience. Now, the reason that I felt comfortable moving this one up a little bit more is just because it was the malfunction that we had. It could have been the ammunition with a light primer strike.
Yeah.
It might not have actually been the gun, but after we never continued to see that happen.
Yeah.
But I will say one benefit to this Diamondback is, as Connor kind of touched on, this gun is significantly lighter than all of the others. So, that's one big benefit to this Diamondback. And it's not to say that it's, so much worse than those 2 by any means, but I just like shooting this one a little bit more. Maybe because it had a little bit more weight, it just handled the recoil a little bit more. I don't know, but I think that it's valid to have the Bear Creek over here. Most of the time what you see is they do okay with their 5.56, but once you start going into their odd calibers, like 300 Blackout and all of the other calibers that they make, that's when you start seeing issues from them and a lot worse quality control from Bear Creek. So I think you have to understand them as a company.
Yeah.
It's very much so budget, and if you can afford one of these, I would push you more towards one of these.
Yeah.
Just, this is for, if you can't afford these, I would still go with a Bear Creek. I'm not saying don't buy it, but if you can afford one, go this route. And that's just my opinion, obviously.
Yeah, and I think, touching on what you're saying, I think these are definitely more long-term guns than that. That's going to be something you're going to grow out of pretty quick, because this may just end up being a training option for you, where these may be something you can actually trust your life with.
And we've talked about that in our full video about kind of understanding the company and understanding why you might go with them is more to try out maybe side charging without breaking the bank, or training with different types of setups, different barrel lengths and stuff like that, without spending a whole bunch of money on uppers.
I also want to point out, I blame you guys for the issue that we had with our Bear Creek Arsenal, because
It's 300 blackout.
my 300 blackout, because when we put that video out, we had really not had many issues at all. And then we started getting all these comments saying, oh, those are trash, those are junk, blah, 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 blah. And then we go out to shoot mine, and it malfunctions. So I blame you guys. I don't think it's the gun's fault. I'm just kidding. But it is funny and kind of ironic that we sat there and we did a review on it based off of all the rounds that we have put through these guns. And then after you guys say all that, I go shoot mine. Literally the third or fourth round out of the gun locks it up. So it's just kind of funny. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, even with the 5.56 though, we're still seeing that they're reliable as of right now. The Palmetto State, I would have liked to put that higher because they sell a whole lot of AR-15s.
Yeah.
And even with them, they produce a good product that actually lasts a long time, but they still are known for having a good bit of lemons in their production line.
Right.
So that's the only reason it's not higher, is just because I feel like their quality control isn't there yet. But when they do have a good one, it lasts you. Yeah, it's actually relatively well tuned, and they run really well. So that's kind of why I would put that there. I already talked about the Diamondback. The Anderson, I really like the Anderson. A lot of times we buy their lowers because you can build them so cheap. But I was actually really impressed with what this one came in at. It had mostly Magpul furniture and just a really neat standard AR-15 to build off of. And then, of course, this Radical. I have to agree with Connor on this one. If I were to recommend a firearm or an AR-15 for someone to start off with that can spend around $500, that is where I'm going to point somebody, just because it felt the best tuned. It comes with, what did you call this furniture?
B5 Systems.
This B5 Systems furniture is more comfortable. None of these had it. Most of these had their Magpul furniture. So just them adding those little touches like that kind of sets it above these, in my opinion.
And real quick, because I didn't mention it, I'm glad you actually said something about it. So the Anderson came with Magpul. So Magpul stock, Magpul pistol grip.
Yep.
Obviously, like we just said, Radical came with B5. The Diamondbacks remind me.
So we do have two Diamondbacks.
Right.
We have this black one,
Yes.
and then we had a tan one.
So this one, you added this grip, and I believe this stock. It came with a standard A2 or the standard mil spec
the
stock.
tan one did. This one came with Magpul.
Okay.
So I think it was more of an option for them.
Gotcha.
So we do have a tan Diamondback as well. Which
FTE.
Okay, the FDE, whatever. But that one has a little bit different of a stock setup than this one. But this one did come with Magpul furniture.
And then I think the Bear Creek Arsenal, it's going to come with very standard mil-spec stuff on as far as the grip and the stock.
Yeah.
And then Palmetto State Armory, you could probably get it either way from Palmetto State. But I just did want to say, like, I'm glad you said that, because when we talk about value, what you're getting out of your money, I feel like with these two and the Diamondback, now that you said, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But the top three that we're putting, you're getting a lot better materials with your forend. And I don't want to leave Palmetto State out because I do like their designs and stuff. But you're obviously getting more, with your forend. It's got a lot of cuts in there. Definitely made to feel good in your hands. Same thing with Anderson. I mean, this thing just looks great, feels great. Diamondback did a great job keeping it light. They're good for their different reasons. But again, I would say, if I'm going to point you to one at this point, based off the ones we have. Now, I know there's more out there.
Yeah.
And if you guys know of any that you would say, hey, this definitely needs to go in y'all's lineup, let us know, and we may pick one up to do a review on. So this is just what we have found so far based off all of our shooting and experience with these guns. But if you guys have any questions that you'd like us to answer, if we didn't explain something very well, just let us know down in the comment section. And like I said, all of these guns have reviews on them right now.
Yes.
So go check those out if you want a more in-depth look at them. Go check out those reviews. And like I said, make sure, if you want to help out the channel, make sure you subscribe to us and try and share these videos so this content can, get to many people so they can get a lot of information. And just make sure you guys always chamber one, and we'll catch you next time.